Adam Schefter.
Yeah,
Schefty. Sorry about that. We're still hungover. You get it. I mean,
well, good. Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to ask you if you feel better from your trip to Ireland yet, and how would you rate the experience?
We started off the show. We give it. I give it a 10. I loved it. Everybody was so incredibly kind, and to be honest, woke up Sunday morning, obviously a little, hungover. But then the boys, we started texting. I started seeing photos. It was like 100% worth it. Mm-hmm. But now we're in real football, which is why I think it was so amazing as well. Like, kicked off real football season. The college slate was phenomenal. The NFL's a couple weeks away. Let's talk about some of these headlines, that are kind of brewing, Schefty. You heard what we just said there about Jacoby and Drake Maye. And obviously, it's a strategy thing. It's a tactical thing. It's a development thing, whatever the case is. What do you think ends up happening there in New England? And is an offensive line the worry? Do they want to see him develop more? Do they want him to watch Jacoby? What do you think it is over there, Schefty?
Well, Pat, I think here's where they're at right now. I think that you heard Gerard Mayo say this morning that Drake Maye has outplayed Jacoby Brissett. But that's not the only factor in determining a team's starting quarterback. Again, you want to make sure that a rookie has time to learn, acclimate, grow, do all those things. You don't want to expose a rookie quarterback before you have to, especially behind a shaky offensive line right now. How about the fact that the first game is on the road in Cincinnati? And so they know that Drake Maye is going to be their quarterback long term. They're not looking to rush him in. And I think Boston said it before, right, that their plan, initially they came in with an idea of what they want to do. And I think everybody believes their idea was to go with the veteran Jacoby Brissett until they believed that Drake Maye was ready, whenever that is. Clearly, he's playing well enough to start right now, but it certainly sounds like Jacoby Brissett still may have the edge there in being the opening day starting quarterback. But the fact that Drake Maye's outplayed him, that they're talking about this, admitting this, I guess that just makes you wonder, how soon is it until we see Drake Maye start? There were people who felt like he could sit out his whole first year and not take any snaps, but clearly he's on the trajectory where he's going to play this year. Okay. And the only question now is how soon that's going to be.
Is the Jacoby injury legit?
Well, Gerard Mayo said after the game that he could have come back in.
Okay.
So again, I'm sure there's going to be more testing today. We'll see if it's more severe than they thought. When I was watching it, I thought, okay, this is going to be something, but the initial indications from the Patriots were that it wasn't.
Left shoulder instead of right, which obviously is a conversation piece, but still could be very, very painful. Jacoby Brissett probably gets a start, it sounds like, and not to Dan Orlovsky's degree, but I agree that this is the right play.
Yeah.
Are you worried about winning the Super Bowl week 1 in New England?
Realistically, absolutely not.
Okay, so let's maybe let this offensive line too try to figure it out.
Figure that out first.
Let's let Drake watch how Jacoby operates. Let's let him get kind of quickly.
Yeah, Schefty, what's going on with Jamar Chase? We heard he's back at practice. Is this kind of an indication that they might be closer to getting a long-term deal done, or how does this whole thing shake out?
Yeah, I don't think they're closer right now, but I do understand it to be the fact that this was like a good faith gesture on Jamar Chase's part to continue the dialogue that's gone on between these two sides in the hope that both sides can get something done before the season begins. And again, I believe it was a walkthrough practice. I don't believe he's still gone through one of these 11-on-11 full exertion type practices. I don't know when that will happen. I would imagine if and when they can get a deal done here. But I think he went back there and participated in the walkthrough type practice with the idea, hey, I'm here. I'm interested in getting this done. And his situation, I think, is played out a little bit differently than the Brandon Ayuk situation. I don't see Jamar Chase commenting on tweets about where he should play or what he should do or liking tweets from other people. Like, he's been very quiet about things. And the Bengals have been very quiet about things. And both sides have kind of done their business behind closed doors here. And I think that they would like to try to figure out a way to get something done. And in an effort to continue whatever discussions they've had, Jamar figured he would go through the walkthrough practice.
Quiet mouth, loud mind, normally how that entire thing kind of operates. Last week, Bill Belichick told us that whenever, who was it that had 2 years left that wanted to negotiate?
Judon?
No, before that, whatever it was.
Richard Seymour?
Maybe. Whatever the case was. He said when there was 2 years left on a contract and somebody wanted a new contract, he said that he wasn't going to be negotiating with you unless you're at practice. Like, if you're not practicing, we're not going to be negotiating because that's 2 years left on your deal. We'll start a 15-man parade into my office if that's how this entire thing goes and if people start handling. So maybe there's a similar situation going on. Maybe Jamar, like, all right, I'll come back. Let's do this. Maybe we do a little bit better business. Or maybe Jamar has just come to the point of realizing that the Brown family, this is since the 1600s with the way the Bengals kind of operate in this entire thing. Do you think either one of those is potentially lean?
Well, I think to Bill's point, I think what he's saying, there's absolutely an element of truth to it. The only thing I'd say is I think there are certain guys in different categories. Not everybody on that roster is as talented and as important as Jamar Chase.
Agreed.
So there's his leverage. So if there's a linebacker or safety or an offensive lineman with 2 years left, how many of them were the 5th overall pick in the draft? I think he was the 5th overall pick. How many of them have put up the numbers that Jamar Chase have? How many of them are as great as Jamar Chase is? So it's a little different with him, but Cincinnati obviously is very disciplined in its negotiating tactics, and we'll see if the two sides can figure out a way to get something done here that would help both.
Discipline, very solid way to describe that. On their end. On the other side, they say cheap.
Yeah, cheapskates.
Yeah, but that's not real anymore.
No.
Because they do business now.
Right.
They sell it. They're going to pay, they pay Joe. Like, there is, feels like we're in a new era of the Bengals. And hopefully this is just business by Jamar saying, all right, you got it. I'll come back. We'll continue to talk and then make it work because he is electrifying. You talk about Ayuk being a different situation. Well, the Ayuk situation leads to a massive situation that's happening at the left tackle. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, Schefty, I think you shared the sentiment over the past month where about Trent Williams, him not being at practice, whatever, it's training camp. He's an old vet. He's been there. He's done that. Whatever. Training camp's over. The last preseason game is over. Is there any concern now that all that's over about getting Trent Williams into camp, and what's the current situation with his deal and holdout?
I think there is some concern. I think their offensive line didn't play particularly well the other night, and I don't think that they've made a lot of progress so far. I don't think that Trent Williams is closer to coming in today. I also think that we're entering a week now where the 49ers play 2 weeks from tonight against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. 2 weeks from tonight, which is amazing to think about. And I just think that this is the week where I'm expecting every one of these situations to have some type of ramped up activity. Now, I don't know that all of them will get solved. I'd love to see every one of them get solved and kind of have everybody move ahead to the season. But how would the 49ers not make renewed efforts this week to try to figure out and resolve the Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams situations? How would the Bengals not figure out ways to do Chase and the Cowboys and Lamb and the Jets and Hassan Reddick? Like, every single one of these situations, we're at a pretty critical juncture here for team and player. And it's time, as teams are adjusting their rosters, to crack down on all these situations and figure out if everybody can solve it, to move past it and to get the guy back in so everybody can begin getting ready for opening day together.
I don't know if you heard, Connor earlier said he'd be a great Patriot.
Yeah, I mean, he'd look great in, this helmet right here. I think he should consider.
Not the only fan base that would say
maybe
that.
they could trade him. Yeah, maybe you trade him Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk in a big package deal.
Wow.
Right?
No, it's okay. We'll just take Trent Williams and we'll give him all the money that he wants.
I don't think Schefter was saying just the Patriots. I think he was saying,
I think
is there a team out there, that wouldn't mind just kind of restarting? Maybe a team that has a brand new owner. Connor has a question for you, Schefty.
Yeah,
Yes.
Schefty, Josh Harris gave an interesting little 2-minute answer about the state of the Commanders being the Washington Commanders, and he basically said, shit, I used to be a fan here. I know how much we used to love that name, but we can't go back to that name. And he also mentioned how first things first, we got to win some games. Is there a chance that the Commanders team name gets changed? And more so, when will it get changed? And is it kind of bad juju to win games with the Commanders name and then change the name? Don't you think you should probably just do that sooner rather than later?
Well, I think that they've recognized that the most important thing that they could do is win, because it does feel like there's just a different vibe surrounding that organization. And obviously over the weekend, they make the announcement that they're going to take down the statue that was built, that figurine statue of Sean Taylor, and put up a proper statue of him, which is a great thing. And so I think they're addressing all these things little by little. Like, you can't just do everything all at once. And I don't think they're at the name yet. I think eventually everybody thinks that they'll get there. I don't know whether that's a year, 2 years, 3 years, or what. But at some point in time, I would imagine that they're going to sit down and say, okay, is this the name that we want to keep? And I don't know. I don't know if there's a lot of support out there to keep the name Commanders. I haven't heard that very much. So I would think that'll be open to debate and decision in the coming months or years.
What if they just change it every year?
That'd be cool.
That would be sweet.
Just every year.
You know what? What was wrong with Washington football team? I kind of like that.
Well, we all say that now, and we liked it at the time as well, but that's how bad Commanders has been received.
Yes.
You know, we're all like, why did we ever get off WFT?
That was
like,
cool.
That was really, really enjoyable. And I think in real time we enjoyed Washington football team as well, but then I don't know if it came from the building or if super marketing and business experts were like, tough to get with no mascot, really no. That's a tough thing to really. It's like you stamp that WFT everywhere.
Yeah.
NWO did pretty good.
Yeah, they did.
NWO did pretty.
Sure.
You just have WFT literally everywhere. So maybe Josh Harris gets it.
Yeah, maybe. They had Wild Hogs. Wild Hogs was staring him at the face.
What was that other one? Compton was pushing hard. Red Wolves or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been sick.
Hey,
I'm the
anything?
only one who likes Commanders.
I mean, Commanders
The
isn't
song,
bad.
Wale's song.
Yeah, Wally's. There's Wally's song. He liked it.
That's
Black
not
jerseys.
Wale.
Black jerseys was sweet.
That was Oh Goody, and they liked it, and they made a banger for it.
Put your left hand up. Who are we? The Commanders.
It was sweet.
That was pretty cool.
Bump it, bum bum.
Oh,
We are Commanders. Bum, 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 bum.
Where's that from?
They still do that. Hey, anything we should ask you about here? What's some big news that's coming down the pipeline? You know, we had a little bit of a blurry weekend in Dublin.
Sure.
Anything that we kind of maybe missed out there in its entirety?
Well, you heard about the Chargers getting stuck in the elevator for 2 hours, right?
That was on the
pretty
morning
good.
news this morning. Kaylee Hartung did that on the Today Show. She talked about it. And then Harbaugh's quote about it all is
Unbelievable.
Here it is.
It was a shared experience. I think 11 or 12 of our players were there for about 2 hours, and that's a shared experience. I mean, brought them closer together. I just missed it, being on that elevator. So it's like, I wish I could have been there with those guys, But Justin Herbert was, and the remarkable things that came out of it was, to a guy, Tarheeb, young rookie player, is like, wow, Justin Herbert's a leader. He was a rock. Kept everybody calm. And Jerry Fouts told me the same thing. Pulled me aside after they got out, and just how great Justin was. Justin Herbert, his hair was a little wet, but his shirt was completely dry. That's another thing that blew me.
Guy didn't even sweat. He was in an elevator with 12 people.
Other guys taking their shirts off.
Dude, he didn't even
could've been there.
sweat.
well, he did sweat up here. He didn't show it to the other.
Yeah, he didn't want people to know in the back there,
Yep.
just kind of
That's a
behind. Listen, if you need strength, I got you. We're here. We're going to have a good time. In another part of the interview, he said Justin Herbert was the last one off.
That's right.
Justin Herbert was the last one off the elevator. And it's like, if you're Justin Herbert, you have to be so pumped that guy's your head coach. But also, since we're in the NFL, and Tone mentioned it right there, how about Jim Harbaugh being back in our world going, man, I just missed getting stuck in an elevator for a few hours with 12 people.
And wanted to. Disappointed.
Wish I was there.
What a shared experience that would have been.
Psychopath.
Imagine right afterwards just being like, wow, we were just stuck in there for hours and hours of our lives.
awesome.
He's a legend. This guy is out of control. But I think that is like the type of energy he takes everywhere, which is why he's had success coaching in every single spot. Mr. Schefter, you know him better than
That's our coach. He's got a unique perspective. He's got a great outlook on these things. He always views these things as bonding experiences. Disappointed that he couldn't be on the elevator. Impressed that Justin Herbert didn't sweat a lick, though his hair was a little bit moist there. I mean, that was certainly a headline. And Jerry Fouts, of course, the wife of Dan Fouts, the great Chargers quarterback who was doing the game on TV that weekend. So lots of lots of interesting insights to take away. You asked headlines of the weekend, right? So that would have been one. The Chargers being stuck on the elevator, Jim Harbaugh not getting stuck for a couple hours, the Dallas Fire Department having to rescue these Chargers players, and Justin Herbert demonstrating great strength and leadership while they were stuck in there. The other one, the injury of the weekend, without question, the injury of the weekend was Field Yates. That was the injury of the weekend.
Shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
ESPN Fantasy. I don't know if you heard it, Pat. So the headline in the New York Post was ESPN fantasy analyst Field Yates dislocates shoulder while picking fantasy draft order.
Jeez.
Now, how soft do you have to be?
Oh, no, Field.
That's how it actually happened,
He
right?
sold out, though.
Tackling dummy,
Good hit.
tackling dummy, poor form. He dives into the dummy. Comes. You could see how he grabs his shoulder, wrist, arm. He knew it was bad. It was bad. He got taken to the hospital in the Bahamas, and the headline made him out to be very soft. Like I'd consider going after the newspaper for libel for that. They made him out to be very, very soft.
I've been looking into libel a little bit, actually, for my own potential lawsuits of people. But, Field Yates needs this thing to be pumped bigger and bigger, because although that would suck to separate your shoulder while tackling a dummy or whatever, he sold out
Big time.
entirely for that, as if there was a crash pad behind it.
Yeah.
There was not a crash pad on the other side of that.
Yeah,
So I think Field Yates got to
hold
prove
on.
he's a dog.
Here's what I want you to do. Field Yates played high school football, went and played college football at Wesleyan. Bill Belichick
Which one?
knows Field Yates since he's a little boy. When you show Bill, if you show Bill that video, Bill is going to be disgusted by Field's form that he used on that tackle.
Yeah, right. That's
he's gonna say-
1999. He won.
That's an open field tackle.
Gotta bring his legs.
Head right on the
helmet
ball. Almost.
He launched himself. That would have been helmet to helmet.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah. And here's
he
the
got
other
out the
thing.
way.
Here's
Oh,
the
no, he
other
does
thing.
have the head to the side. Has the head to the side.
Up though, is a heads up football.
It didn't look like it.
I think he
Here's the
looks
other thing.
good here, not bad, personally.
Yeah.
I think he looks good, not
The
bad.
tackling dummy's fault. They're supposed to, have a little give. That thing just gave right away.
Yeah, top of that flimsy, dimsy, whoopsie, doopsie at
Bounced
the top.
right up.
That's a powerful hit.
And then he left-hand high five, too.
Yep.
Because the guy wanted to give high five. It looks like Post Malone a little
Yeah.
bit there. The
Dan Dopp.
That's Dan.
that might be
That's
Dan
fantasy
Dopp.
football, Dan.
That
Okay.
might be Dan
Yeah,
Dopp.
Dan-
He looks
Dopp.
super cool. He should be
That'd be
shirtless on TV.
All the time.
Yep.
I know people will be mad because of things that are on TV and not supposed to be on TV, but he looks super cool. Field gives him a thing, trying not to let him know
Yeah.
that something bad's happening there.
Yeah.
And could you
Yeah.
imagine if Field
Yeah.
just
Well,
pulls that?
That's what
go!
he should have done.
Just pops it right back in.
Someone yank my arm now.
Yeah, so that was the injury of the weekend. And here's the other part. Field Yates was supposed to be with me in Chicago at a different fantasy convention. ESPN calls together this fantasy outing in the Bahamas, and they invite Field. So he shouldn't have even been there. So him and his wife leave their girls home, and they figure they're going to have a nice romantic weekend away, and doesn't quite go the way that they expected.
The fantasy department's taking a trip to the Bahamas. Okay.
Doing well.
Hey.
You guys go to, by the way, you guys are in Ireland over the weekend. The fancy department's in Bahamas. I don't know what kind of operation we run. I get to go to Bristol and New York City. Like, that's what I get to do. Not very much compared to what you guys are doing.
No, we got an opportunity for you to come to Indianapolis once a week.
That's right.
Come on.
Spend Mondays with us. We'll be incredibly grateful.
Oh, that would be fun, actually. That would be fun. If we could figure out a way. You figure that out, Pat, I'd be happy to.
Okay. All right. We will need an O's sighting because we know you're his agent. We will need an O's sighting at some point. But, Schefty, we appreciate the hell out of you, brother.
Guys, have a great day. We'll talk next week. Have a great week.
When's the next
Happy Labor Day,
when's the
everybody.
owners' meetings tomorrow, right? So we're going to get anything out of that?
Yep.
And then when's the deadline for cuts and shit?
The deadline is 4 Eastern tomorrow for cuts. Everybody goes from 90 to 53. Then everybody brings back 16 players for the practice squad. They do that by Wednesday. Tomorrow's the owners' meetings. I think what you're going to hear there is that they're going to approve private equity ownership of teams, maybe up to 10%. That could happen tomorrow. That's a whole different deal. The league has never done that before. About to do that now. So you got that going on. You got the cuts going on. You got the hold-ins and holdouts going on. So it's going to be a busy week. And usually, in the last few years, the league has done a great job of clearing the docket and letting everybody kind of catch their breath on Labor Day before the season and the marathon begins. But I think there's just too much pending business right now that it's going to mess up some of the weekends of some of these teams with all this unfinished business right now.
I'm excited to see who makes team, who doesn't make team, what trades take place. There's certainly teams that are still hungry for things, and there's certainly some outstanding situations around the entire NFL contractually. One last follow-up. How much do you know about the VC firms getting into NFL ownership? And is it max 10% per equity firm, or is it max 10% per team from an equity firm? For instance,
that's what I expect this week. I expect it to be up to 10% of each team is what I expect it to be.
The whole up to 10% of the entire team, not 10% per equity team.
Right.
Equity.
Right. That's what I think, but I haven't checked. That's what I think.
Okay, in my head, I just said, okay, so I got to meet 11 people.
Yeah, because all of a sudden, then you're getting together 10 different groups and you're buying the whole team. I don't see that.
Yeah, just to let you know, that was
precisely.
while you were talking. In my head, I was like, wait a minute, I think we get an NFL team, depending on how we do in a slideshow, and hopefully they accept shows that have beers in Dublin and not the opposite. Which there are certainly some of those. Schefty, we appreciate you so much.